Hey there gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a heated debate that's been stirring up the gaming community for years. PlayStation 3 versus Xbox 360. I'm your host Justin, and buckle up because we're about to lay down some facts. Okay everyone, before we get started I'd like to say one thing. I grew up on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. I remember playing both of them throughout my entire childhood and enjoying both. So there will be no kind of bias, no kind of leaning this way just because. So let's just get started. Round 1, pricing. The Xbox 360 hit the market in 2005 with two options. The premium version at $399, which came with a 20 gig hard drive, and the core version at $299 that came without a hard drive at all. PlayStation, on the other hand, launched a year later with a hefty price tag of $499 for the 20 gigabyte model and a whopping $599 for the 60 gig model. I'm gonna have to give this round to Xbox just for being more friendly and allowing more people to buy it who couldn't afford a $500 price tag. Round 2, performance. Now strap in folks, because we're about to hit that nerdy button and we're about to go over the specs that would give your 4090 a run for its money. The Xbox boasted a 3.2 GHz power tri-core Xenon processor and an ATI Xenos GPU, while the PS3 packed a cell processor and an RSX GPU. In layman's terms, Xbox had a slower CPU but a faster GPU, while PS3 had the opposite. But wait, there's one thing that we all remember from those days, and it's not looking good for Xbox in this round because we all probably have walked into our bedrooms and seen this before. Yes, that's the red ring of death. And let me tell you what, I've experienced that firsthand and I had immediate butterflies and thought my life was over as a kid. So this round, I'm going to easily give this to PlayStation because they had a lot less problems at launch than the Xbox. Round 3, backwards compatibility. This is something that we probably really didn't appreciate as a kid, but the older we get, the more we want to go back and play older games. So at launch, both the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were backwards compatible with their previous consoles. But for some reason, the PlayStation would later decide to drop this feature, so there's only one choice, and that's to give the point to the Xbox. Round 4, online services. Xbox Live and PlayStation both offered pretty much the same thing. You got to play online and meet new people and generally experience games in a way that most people have never experienced before. But the difference is Xbox Live costed $40 a year, while PlayStation Network was free at the time and they had a built-in web browser. Pause. I know what you're thinking, and that's not why I put that in there. I just feel like that was pretty important back in those days. Round 5, media capabilities. Both could play CDs, DVDs, and downloadable content, but the PlayStation's Blu-ray capability was a game changer for it, because if you were around back then, you know that Blu-ray was the biggest way of watching any kind of media. That was supposed to be the next big thing, and quite frankly, back then it was the next big thing. So honestly, I have no choice but to give this round to PlayStation. Round 6, controllers. Right off the bat, I'm going to let you all know that I use an Elite controller to this day to play games. I prefer it over the PlayStation controller. I feel it's heavier. I like the layout of the buttons better. I like the feel of the triggers better. But I also can sit here and understand why that the PlayStation controller could be chosen over the Xbox controller. So for this round, I'm going to have to give both companies a point because I wouldn't feel right sitting here and giving one a point over the other based on my preference alone. Round 7, peripherals. And this is one that I almost didn't include in this, but I feel like at the end of the day, this was a major factor in growing up in that time period. If y'all can remember the little Xbox keyboard for the bottom of the controller where you would be able to spam people messages, or the little headset, or even the Kinect. And then over to the PlayStation, I really couldn't sit there and think about too many peripherals that were impactful to the console the way that the Kinect was. So I'm going to have to give this round to Xbox strictly based on I don't think PlayStation ever released anything as important as the Kinect was. Round 8, exclusives. And I want to take my time on this round because I feel like it's very important to understand why the final point is going where it's going to go. So let's jump right into it. The score's tied, and this has come down to the wire. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting the score to be this close. But after getting over some of my own biases and looking and diving into certain matters, it truthfully is. And this is probably truthfully the moment that most of y'all have been waiting for. And before I start, I want to let some of y'all know that I understand that you're going to spit out some of the most random indie games that sold a couple hundred copies and say, what about Castle Miner Z? Well, those don't count because then I'd have to include everyone's favorite game. But let me also remind you one thing as well, that I'm only going with games that were released strictly for the 360 and PS3, and they're exclusives only. So if I say Halo, I'm not talking about Halo 1 or Halo 5 or Halo Infinite. I'm just talking about Halo ODST, 3, Reach, and Halo Wars. And same for PlayStation. Now that the ground rules are set, let's dive right into this. We'll start with the obvious and get right into the Halo and Gears series. Both of these games impacted so many people's lives and their journeys into shooters. They're probably what really truthfully carried Xbox at the beginning to the level that it got to. Without these two gaming giants right here, I don't think Xbox would be where it is. But let's move on to some of the other lesser but more popular games that were released on the 360. And I think this list will, quite frankly, surprise you that these are their major hitters. And let's go starting with Forza, Just Dance, Viva Pinata, Fable, and Crackdown. Honestly, I was sitting here and expecting to find way more heavy-hitting Xbox exclusives, but I didn't. And to be honest, I was shocked after looking at more than 10 websites and only finding a few heavy-hitting games. And that hurt. That hurt as an Xbox kid. That hurt to know that truthfully, that Xbox really didn't have that many bangers now that I'm sitting back looking at it. Now moving on to PlayStation, after not finding much on the Xbox, I was sure that there couldn't be much more on PlayStation, but I was very wrong. And I was just shocked. So let's just jump into some exclusives. Little Big Planet, Metal Gear Solid, God of War, Uncharted, Demon Souls, the Infamous series, The Last of Us, Killzone, Resistance Fall of Man, Ratchet & Clank, and the list doesn't stop there. I just cannot believe that the list was so long for them. So for the final round, I'm going to have to give the last point to PlayStation, edging them over Xbox in a 5-4 victory. In conclusion, the Xbox started off very strong. At the beginning of the Xbox 360's life, I don't think there was a better console out. Obviously, the PlayStation wasn't out yet. But even when the PlayStation 3 first launched, I don't think there was a better console you could have had. Xbox was running strong with games like Gears and Halo, and would continue to do so for years. But then PlayStation would continuously, lay hit after hit after hit after hit after hit for years and years and years. And at some point, Xbox said, we're done making traditional games and we're going to focus mainly on Kinect games, which they would continue to do for the Xbox One. And in another video versus the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4, I think you'll see that the Kinect really damaged Xbox more than it helped. But I would like to give a round of applause to both PS3 and Xbox 360 because they truthfully carried some of our childhoods. And I love both systems, and I hope you did too. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time on the next This Versus That.